Hey everybody, I'm Kevin.
Hey, and I'm Frank.
So we're going to go through 12 more guitars of the week right now as we get into the tail end of the whole program that we put together. So stick around, we'll walk you through the next 12.
Go behind the Headstock with Kevin and Frank, two ex-Gibson employees talking about guitars and the guitar industry with an inside perspective.
All right, so we are picking it up from week 31, and this is a Flying V New Century with carbon fiber. It's basically a carbon fiber inset, but it's pickguard material.
Yeah, it's not real carbon fiber. It was a printed, but it was inlaid in the whole body. That came from Corey and George messing around with the CNC, so they could inlay that thing all the way into the body, so it was flush with the wood.
Yep.
So it was pretty cool.
Now, going back a few episodes, we did the SG New Century that had that funky white material. It was all basically
Right.
from Delmar, right? Delmar is a company that did all of our plastics, right?
Right. Yep. Ronnie Moe. That was the key to these things. You know, we're getting different plastics that we could use and different stuff we could use, and not change the whole, reinvent the wheel. You know.
Yep. So I don't know who got this sample, but I think when we saw it, we're like, that's a no-brainer. That is so cool. We got to do it.
Yeah. It looks great.
Right.
And it fits the V's and the Explorer. We did an Explorer coming up as well, so it's perfect for that model.
You know what's funny? Because, again, as we go through these guitars, Frank, we haven't seen these. Like, I've forgotten about most of them, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But doing research, when I first saw this, I went, maybe we should have done the pickguard screws in black. But then I'm like, no, I like them the way they are. It's very metal looking,
well,
you know?
We looked at both ways.
We probably
did.
did.
Just done the blackout. We had just done a blackout version, which was all black plastics with EMGs and all that. And so I wanted the riveted look, like, you know.
I like that,
it was
yeah.
Rivet. That's why it's very symmetrical. Look at the screw pattern.
Yep.
It's very symmetrical. You know, so we made it look like it was kind of riveted together, you know.
Yeah. Looks like it's aircraft or something. Very metal.
Right. It has that rivet look, you know.
Yep.
With the carbon fiber as well.
All right, let's go to week 32.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
So,
blackout.
Yeah, in the last episode, we looked at the Les Paul Studio that had EMGs and white-bound fingerboard, and this was the SG version.
Right.
Which is funny because an SG standard always had binding on it anyway, so it took me a minute to really understand what I was looking at.
Right. Because it's kind of like a special. It's not badged like a standard with the Pearl logo and all that. It was just like a black and white thing. And the EMG pickups, you know, were the Zakk Wylde special.
Yep.
We were doing a lot of Zakk Wyldes, and I always liked the EMG pickups myself.
Yep.
So
down from the Steinberger world. But look at the control cavity. I didn't remember we had to do a special control cavity on that.
The battery. That's the battery.
Yep. And I guess in the Les Paul, we just put a battery flip out door, but that's so thin. Yeah.
Right. The SG was too thin to put the battery flip out door. We looked at one that flipped it out, like let the battery lay down horizontally rather than vertically standing up. but you know, we just decided to route the channel a little bit bigger.
Yep. I mean, it's basically 3 minutes on the CNC CAD program to program that in.
Yeah. Right. We just bumped it out a little bit and made room for the battery box. I wish I wouldn't have done it that way. Kind of. I wish I would have done 2 separate plates where it wouldn't have been 8 screws to change the battery. But you only have to change the battery not that often on an EMGs. There's
you get like 200 hours from it, right?
Yeah. There's so little drain. You could probably change it once a year and it'd be fine, you know. So what's coming up? Oh, look at there's the old logo. Yeah. That was another classic antique kind of version. A little different.
In satin mahogany top, vintage sunburst.
Yeah.
And I remember you're the one who said, "Hey, I'm going to put the scroll logo on it."
Yeah, I found that old logo in the McCarty drawings and all that, and I was like, man, we got to do that. That's cool. So,
I don't think there were many Gibson USA production models. I'm sure there were a few like back in the 70s, but it was pretty rare to get that scroll logo on the headstock. Especially in the 90s and the 2000s. We never used it.
No, they were mostly like old acoustic guitars that had that stuff.
Yeah.
It was
Or
coming out of that, you know.
did we do them on the Chets or the Rangers and the
Nope. No.
Pioneer? No.
I don't know. Maybe those. It might have been.
That's for another episode. I kind of forgot about those guitars just till now.
Yeah, me too.
Remember?
yeah, I remember now because it was very similar to that look of that guitar too.
Yep.
You know, the satin vintage sunburst look. You know.
So that just reminds me, we got to have Mike Volz come on and talk about the Chet series pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love to talk to Mike.
Yep. Okay. So this is the Les Paul Standard 50s neck in antique vintage sunburst.
Okay.
Frank, who do you think inspired this one?
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe some guy who wore a top hat?
Yeah, maybe. Something like him.
All right, so I'm gonna go back here. This one's very interesting because you know, we did a lot of Slash models together, right? I mean, we did them before this, the Guitar of the Week. We did them after this, multiple versions of it. And Slash was great to deal with.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
But like we've said in other episodes, we constantly heard from dealers and distributors, guys, can you make a cheaper version of the whatever it was? So can you make a cheaper Slash? Come on, you know, they're so expensive. We can only move so many. Do you think you could do something? So again, this was a great vehicle for us to pay tribute to our guitar heroes, plus satisfy some demands for guitar models that we had that we couldn't really do a budget Slash model and call it Slash. So this was our compromise.
Right. So some of that in that same vein, think about, you know, when we did Slash programs, they sold very well and they were gone quick.
Yeah.
You know? So people were like, man, I really wanted to get some of those Slashes, but they're gone, you know?
Yep.
So that's another reason we did some of these things that were kind of like it. You know what I mean? So, because we didn't have to worry about compromising the sales of the Slash model because it was good, you know?
Hey, and remember this, too. In the cost of those models, we had to pay Slash.
Yeah.
And we had to pay a guy named Les Paul.
Yep.
Remember, the Les Paul is named after a guy. So we were paying two artists' fees for each double signature series guitar.
Right.
Now, you know, there was a lot of extras that went into the Slash models with like hand-picked tops and all sorts of extra things, but this was our compromise to
Duncan pickups. He used his own Duncan pickups in it.
True.
You know, I remember, you know, now that you bring that up about the Les Paul, I remember putting Les Paul models on some guitars and Henry making me take it off.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, take it off. I don't want to pay the royalty on this. Because that was the deal. If we silk screened Les Paul model on it, he had to pay. That was
he got money.
Right. So if we did a Les Paul and just did like a different, like a SG headstock or something like that, head veneer on it, that wasn't part of the deal. You know, it wasn't.
Well, that's why.
Right.
Also, remember a lot of the entry-level Epiphones, they were called Special 2s or Special 1s. They were not called Les Pauls because the margins on those were so thin as it was. We couldn't pay that extra money to Les Paul, but he made a lot of money every year. Don't get us wrong.
Oh yeah.
Hey Frank, quick question on this. I noticed that the neck joint is black on this.
Right.
Did we do that on all VSs?
Yeah. Well, not all. It was kind of a hybrid from the 70s. Back in the 70s, they used to shade the back in the waist
here.
of the guitar.
Yep.
The back of the headstock would be shaded. You know, they did a lot of different shadings in the back, but we always did that neck joint because really when you're doing the burst, when you're painting the burst on there, it's really hard to worry about overspray, you know, and we didn't, you know, at Gibson, we didn't really tape stuff up much because we didn't have time.
Right.
So when you're going around the rim and you get to the top where the toggle switch is and the neck, of course, the neck fingerboard was taped off, but around the back, you would get like overspray.
Right.
You know, and so they would shade, like if you see where the strap button is on the back, look on the back picture, right where the strap button is. Yeah, it's shaded all the way to that strap button, you know, over there and then in the cutaway a little bit too.
Yeah.
Just to keep the overspray and make it look good.
Make it look nice.
So,
got it.
Yeah. So we kept that feature of it just because we didn't want to have to tape the whole guitar off.
Right.
And make it natural back, you know, like that.
All right. One other interesting thing about this. So, Frank, I went back to the records of our Guitar of the Week sales.
Uh-huh.
Now, the funny thing is the distributor who asked for a lesser expensive / the most was our friends in Germany. And they took 100. They took 100 of these.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing. Another thing we learned along the way. These guitars were coming out so fast. Every Monday, there was a new guitar, and we built 400. Now, you basically had a few days, 7 days, but really 5 or 6 to get all that heat out into the public, to get them sold through before we moved on to the next week. Now, we did start to have unsold Guitars of the Weeks pile up in the warehouse because we were, again, moving on to the next week and the next week and the next week.
Sure, yeah.
We got smart after a while, and if we didn't have orders for 400, we didn't make 400.
Right.
So...
yeah, we had orders for everything else, so why would we waste that production slot on something that wasn't sold, you know?
Correct. So I know with this model in particular, maybe I'll go back and see when that really started, but you know, the light went off halfway through the year like, hey, we don't need to make all 400 of these if we didn't sell them. So I had the number up here last night when I was doing research, but let's say it was out of the 400 limited edition, we shipped 276.
Oh, and 100 went to Germany.
Yep.
So, well, there you go.
So this guitar is rarer than we think it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Only 176 made.
No, 276.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, only 176 that didn't go to Germany.
Didn't go to Germany, right? All right, let's go to week 35. Here's the another SG61 that we took a crack at, right?
Yeah. Well,
so this
the Warren Browns were selling so bad, so great, you know.
And again, when we get asked to make a cheaper version of the SG61, well, there you go. There it is.
Yeah. And that helped us with our Satin numbers. You know, we needed production. In order to raise production like Henry wanted, we had to incorporate Satins into production. So, and that's a nice little guitar, man. The SG61 was always a nice guitar. You know?
And you know what the cool thing is? So many of those Satins came off the line, sounded great.
Yeah, it you know, the didn't choke the wood at all.
It was the finish was so thin they just sounded great.
They were alive. Yep. I still see people talking about the SG Fadeds, how it's still, you know, one of the best guitars they ever got. And, you know, people still speak highly of the SG Faded series.
I mean, huge bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Huge.
I mean, that was like way cheaper than a normal SG61, you know?
Yep.
Which was back ordered and we couldn't get them out fast enough. And so... yeah, that was nice.
I know we talked about the Fadeds in another episode, and I probably brought this up, but if I didn't, we had an option for a dealer. If you wanted to buy 100 or more, we had another special discount for them. So there were dealers buying them in the hundreds.
Right.
Not these, the original Warren SGs. Yeah.
Right.
Correct. The Crescents.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the Explorer New Century with the carbon fiber
Yeah, same thing.
pick guard. Yeah, same thing.
We pretty much tried to do whatever we did for the V, we did an Explorer, you know.
Right. Why not?
Those two, they started together and they lived life together, you know.
And those two customers are so similar, you might as well take care of both of them, right?
Right.
All right, so moving on to the SG67 Special 2 P90s.
Yep.
Again, this kind of harkens back to my love of P90s, number one.
And I did that pick guard, a special pick guard we did for this one.
Did you show a little more white? Is that what it was?
No. The thing is it has the neck tenon cover built into the plastic.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's routed one piece. On the 61, there's a little plastic piece that goes on there that covers the neck joint because the pickup can't get close enough to the end of the fingerboard. Right? Because of the horns on the SG, the cutaways, the pickup can't go forward. So it has to be backwards. So you can either on some we did 24 frets and just filled up that with frets. And then this one we did a one-piece pick guard. You can notice you see the white exposed on the
right here.
Yeah.
Now, this is the guitar I've always wanted to make ever since I was a Gibson. We never exactly made it because, you know, I don't know. I'm a big Pete Townsend fan, but he was more of a big Batwing player.
Right.
Yeah. But we hadn't made an SG with P90s in a long time, and when I was over at the corporate office,
didn't we send Pete one of these?
I hope so. I think
we did. I think we did because Fred was into the live at Leeds. You know, he was like,
"Oh yeah."
You know, I think this began. I think we might have did a Pete Townsend signature after a while, but I think we sent Pete one of these to get his blessing.
Maybe. Well, the custom shop did one a few years earlier, and it was basically this.
Right. Okay.
The big bat guard.
Right.
So, but I remember being over. I'm sorry.
And a wraparound bridge.
That was the cheapest Gibson he can get a hold of, and he would smash them every night. That's why he used this.
Yeah.
But it sounded amazing.
Sure it did.
All right, so I remember being over at the corporate office in the smoking room. Remember the smoking room at the corporate office?
Oh, boy.
And I would be in there with Rick Goodwin and Renee Emmett. Shout out to Renee Emmett. Hope you're doing better. And we convinced her that we needed to make... She was the product manager at the time of SGs. Going back, if you remember, Henry had a product manager for Les Pauls, and then he had a product manager for SGs, taking care of those lines. It was interesting how we split up the body styles that way.
Right.
So anyway, we told Emmett, you gotta make an SG special with P90s. So she brought the idea to Henry, and this is what they came back with.
Oh no.
It was the SG Supreme. Now look, 24 frets, like you were saying.
Right.
Now we were like, yeah, that's cool, but that's not what we were talking about. So that's why all those years I just wanted to make a version of this because I wanted to buy one and I never bought one.
Right.
Stupid me. Week 38. Again, we drew some inspiration on this one. What started life as an SG Custom 3 pickup, someone famously took the middle pickup out and ran it with 2 pickups, and this was our non-Angus SG.
Right.
Without having to put his name on it.
Right.
Now, what's cool is I found a picture of him here's the middle pickup.
Right.
And over here, he took it out.
Right.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is cool.
Now, here's what's funny, Frank. Again, we were not allowed to make a Les Paul custom at the time.
Right.
So we came up with the classic custom or the classic antique. We snuck this one by the goalie somehow.
Well, did we use acrylic logos instead of pearl?
It looks pearl in here to me.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
We probably got the same veneers from Rockford or wherever we were getting them from. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yep.
That made me laugh, though. Like, no one complained about that.
Yeah. Well, they didn't care about SGs.
Probably not, right?
Yeah. That's how we got through a lot of that stuff.
All right. So here's the Classic Custom in classic white. Well, it says cream here, but I think we called it. You know what? We may have taken a classic white and double antiqued it like we did all the other custom classics.
That was special paint. We bought cream paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, we also drew inspiration from Randy Rhoads.
Sure. Yeah, that's a Randy.
But another guy we were working with at that time who was super cool to deal with was the Edge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I just remember specifically going, let's do an Edge Les Paul, It didn't have to be Randy exactly or, remember? I mean, we did the Music Rising guitars with him and some other things. He was great to deal with. And the other cool thing about the Edge, do you remember we were sending him some of the Music Rising the Hurricane guitars.
Right.
And we asked Dallas, his tech, how do you want this set up? And he said, the Edge wants it exactly how everybody else gets it. Don't do anything special to it.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, we met a lot of really nice people, man, know, over the years. The Silverburst.
The 84 Silverburst.
Right. Yeah, we didn't shake the back.
Correct.
The back.
Well, it's got the 84 electronics layout.
Right.
That was our tip of the hat to Metallica.
There you go.
Which I don't know if we actually did Silverburst Vs back then. We may have. I don't know, but if you remember, from week 1, we did the Silverburst SG and sold it out in no time. So we just kept doing Silverburst.
How about Silverburst?
And they went, man. They sold great.
It's a good looking guitar. Oh yeah, this one was cool.
Yep. This
Eric
was
Marlowe get that card made for us. Was that Eric project?
It was Eric Marlowe who came up with it.
Right.
And did we call it the Nashville Junior or the Music City Junior?
No, the Music City Junior was the one with the B bender.
The B bender? Okay.
That was the Glazer bender we put in the Music City Junior.
We must have called this the Nashville Junior. I'll post the real name up, but
Nashville double cutaway or something, yeah.
So this idea came from Eric Marlowe, a dear friend of Frank and I's, and Eric's no longer with us. We miss Eric dearly. Have tons of great memories with Eric. And he wanted to pitch this guitar to a female Canadian artist. Do you remember this, Frank?
No.
Kathleen Edwards.
Oh, you know what? I think now you said that, I do remember her.
And then something fell through, and I said, well, dude, let's get Keith Urban. He's been playing a junior a lot.
Right.
So we pitched it to Keith Urban, and I don't know what happened.
Huh.
But behind the scenes, I really wanted to get it pitched to Keith Urban so I could meet Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, nice try.
My plan was spoiled.
Week 41 was Nicole Kidman week.
I mean, how could it not work? Look at that guitar.
Oh, yeah, it's sexy for sure. It looks like Nicole.
Yeah, right? I guess he saw us coming a mile away. Anyway.
Yeah, idiots.
All right, and then hey, where did we get this idea from, Frank?
I don't know. I kiss your butt if you could tell me. Yeah, that was the old DiMarzio. I couldn't believe that. I once asked Dave Berryman somewhere. We were sitting in a meeting, and I asked him, how did they lose? How did Gibson let that get away? The double cream, because Gibson couldn't do a double cream pickup.
No.
And DiMarzio patented it.
Yep.
And so we couldn't do it. We had to buy DiMarzio's for that project right there.
Right.
Yeah.
And every once in a while we would sneak
from Ace Frehley's other Ace Frehley projects we did. We might have had some.
We probably had some in stock. You know what, though? Larry was great to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, they were nice about it and all that. And they helped, of course, they sold them to us. But I just couldn't believe that Gibson had let that get away,
Well, I think when Larry trademarked the color of the coils, I think it was in the 70s, and Norland just didn't give a crap. They didn't know.
They didn't know what they had, right?
But if you remember, sometimes we would do double creams and put a cover on them and it'd get out.
Yeah.
And then
we
Henry,
yeah.
But then Henry would send an email, hey, knock it off.
Easter eggs, yeah. Yeah, there's the Easter egg. Take your cover off. No, yeah. We got a cease and desist for
we
that.
got found out every time.
Well, like they say in NASCAR, if you ain't bending the rules, you ain't trying.
That's right. So, no, but I just remember how great Larry was to deal with. Very accommodating. I don't know. Sometimes people kind of crap on his pickups. I don't get it. Larry's been making great pickups for a very long time. So,
yeah, I mean, that Super Distortion's a great kind of pickup.
How many records were recorded with that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like the sound of my youth.
Yeah, right. You think about them.
But I know now that Gibson is, I think they're making double creams now, and they're just saying, hey, sue us.
Well, it might have expired by now.
I think he kept renewing it.
Yeah, maybe he didn't watch it. I don't know.
Larry's no dummy. I don't think so. I just think like Gibson's like, no, we're going to trudge ahead and let's fight it out in the courts.
We'll settle with you. So
I mean, that's what I read somewhere and heard. I could be wrong. Hey, maybe I should do some research and actually see what's really going on. But
what?
Research.
Like search again?
Yeah.
Like
be a Google warrior. All right, so that's our 12 guitars for tonight. Our next episode will be like the last 4 or so, and then we'll kind of do a review in the numbers about how the guitar of the week did and where most of them went and which ones were.
Overall review.
Yep, because then towards the end of the year, we had to start discounting some models to get them the hell out of the warehouse.
Well,
but again, we were going so fast,
right?
And
most people didn't want to order; they'd miss them,
Right.
Well, I just got to order last week,
Or they'd see the shiny new one on the website and go, oh no, I changed my mind. I want that one now.
Right. So.
Or they were waiting to see what came next.
Right. They didn't know. They couldn't plan ahead, really, And it really, marketing wise, we did everything we could to destroy the program. I mean, there was no sales, there was no splash, there was no, hey, what, he thought it would happen naturally, but you have to, massage that,
Yeah. We did unveil but Frank, we did unveil a new model every Monday. It was generating interest every week.
Yeah, by the time people figured it out, but they weren't ordering, And then we were done with production, and so I don't know.
You add to that,
aggressive,
You add to that too. We already had a big price list of regular core models.
Oh God, hundreds of guitars, yeah.
And then we were doing special runs for Guitar Center and Musician's Friend and Yamaha. We were cranking them out. Yep, yeah. We were cranking them out that year. So.
Yeah, well, that's the 30% growth every year,
Right.
How do you grow?
I think we grew more than 30% that year. It was a good year.
Yeah, we had a bunch of good years.
Yeah, that was a good year. All right. Well, listen, everybody, thank you for watching.
Thank you, everybody, for sure.
So, again, reach out to us. We have an email address behind the headstock at gmail.com. Please like and subscribe our page. Comment down below. We're loving all your comments and all your positive thoughts coming to us through email. And send us your episode ideas, or if you got any questions about certain models. We're collecting some questions. We're going to turn those into episodes real soon, so keep them coming. Appreciate you watching.
All right, thanks everybody.
See ya.
Go behind the Headstock with Kevin and Frank. 2X Gibson employees talking about guitars and the guitar industry with an inside perspective.